Welcome to No Apology with Emilee and Chris. Once again, hope you're having a very Merry Christmas holiday season. Thank you for spending a little time with us this morning.
If you're like,
or
hey,
this afternoon, or whenever it is right now for you.
what does Jim Carrey say in the Truman Show? Good day, good morning, good whatever.
Yeah,
anyway.
whatever. Yeah.
Anywho, this is like you're getting this early. You're like, hey, this show dropped on a Friday. What's that about? Well, this is our holiday, Christmas, New Year's spectacular. Okay, not really,
It's
but
a holiday spectacular.
we decided to
no
record before
apology
Christmas.
on ice, right?
That's right. We should come skating in with, cue cards. No apology with Emilee and Chris. We are off for the holiday season. We are back on Tuesday, January 9th with our normal Tuesday downloads weekly. Mm-hmm. Some have said they want it more than once a week. We're more than happy to do that, but we're
can't. We're trying to get there. Yeah.
We're trying to get there, but brick by brick is how we're building this. Again,
yes.
freshroadmedia.com. Give your best gift during this year-end time. We would really appreciate it. Hey, we've got a college student that goes to our church. Her name is Macy Reischl. She's coming up in just a little bit. Also, Mike Shaw is going to be here, and we've got some festive right on way off to start. I've got a Bible.
Did you see the questions?
No, but I just assumed it's a couple days before Christmas. Okay. Of course, this is where you're going to be. I've got a Bible Idiots deep dive on joy coming up around the corner. But we start where we always start, and that is with the Granny Rant. Here's Emilee. Da, 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 da.
All right, you've seen it. Those beautiful pictures of those holiday trees, Christmas trees, fully decorated, and loads of Christmas presents underneath the tree. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're absolutely beautiful. I love looking at all the pictures of Christmas decorations, whether they're very simple, country, made from scraps, or just the elegant dripping. Like, I don't care. If it's Christmas, it's beautiful to me. What I've noticed, and this is my last, what is it? My last stop doing that for the year 2023. There's a meme. There's actually a couple of them. They're all pretty similar, but basically they're going around with pictures of those trees with tons of presents underneath.
Okay.
And they're saying, hey, you know what?
What?
Before you just post your picture of your Christmas tree with all those presents underneath, remember, there's
people
parents out there that are unemployed and they can't give their kids and
just remember the exception to the rule. So we got to ruin the rule.
And so once again, nay, I say, let's not go there. Chris, you and I, we have had some pretty lean Christmases in the past.
Yeah.
And those are some of the best Christmases we've had. I mean, great memories. I don't know if those people have ever watched The Grinch, but they need to. Mm-hmm. That maybe Christmas doesn't come from a store, right?
Maybe it doesn't.
And so here's what I see when I see those beautiful, gift-laden trees. I say good on them. Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. I don't know the people, usually. I don't know the people that posted it. I don't know what their life is. I don't know what they've been through this year. Maybe it's been a really difficult year, and that Christmas gift-laden tree is the one thing that they could do that brought a little joy into their life. Look, we all have difficulties. It doesn't matter what your checkbook reads. You know what I mean? So anybody that can do that, congratulations. I'm happy for you. Now,
why can't we be happy for others?
Yeah, exactly.
And there Mike Shaw showed up because I hit the wrong button. Anyway,
he's
in the building.
That's because he is happy for others.
Yes, he's producing the show from over there.
Yeah, but Chris,
let's just take another quick look at him. There he is.
Oh.
All right.
Stop messing around. It's Granny Rant.
It's Granny Rant time. Yes, and I have so much to respond now because you've like poked the bear. But anyway, Chris, let Emilee talk. Go.
I know what my next Granny Rant will be.
All right, good.
But anyway, Chris, you and I, we know so many people. We've lived in so many different places, and I do remember distinctly. There was a really good friend of mine, has like 5 kids, and her and her husband adopted like 12 more. And every Christmas, their Christmas tree looked like that. Now, here's the thing. They didn't have a lot of money. They had like 17 kids that they were raising. But they had tons of presents under the tree because they would make homemade gifts for one another. And I know people who they would give gifts to one another, but the gift would be like a keychain or, something very modest. And so just having a ton of presents under the tree shouldn't cause anyone conflict or hurt feelings or bad feelings. If it does, that's something inside of you that you need to really seek the Lord on and fix. I've also known someone who didn't have a lot of money. So like one lady I know, or like almost a year earlier, her microwave broke and she needed the microwave. So she saved up enough pennies, she bought a microwave, and she got a free gift with that purchase of a microwave. Well, her granddaughter was going off to college that year, and the gift that she got with the microwave was recipes on how to cook with a microwave. And so she's like, this would be great for my granddaughter who's going off to college. And she gave her that gift for Christmas. So no, don't, because this whole idea of, maybe not post that because other people don't have what you have, that's a slippery slope that we slide down. Basically, what you're saying is don't share with other people the blessings that God's given you because maybe somebody else didn't get that blessing.
Mm-hmm.
That is such the antithesis of Christianity. Come and see what God has done. And don't be afraid of the goodness that God has given you. And it can be a financial goodness. It can also be a goodness that your family's with you. One more quick story about someone with a bunch of Christmas presents under their tree. An elderly lady lost her husband earlier in the year. This is not this year. This was a while back. But all the family was looking at her going, she cannot spend Christmas alone. So guess what we're doing? All the kids, all the grandkids, all the great-grandkids, they're like, we are going to be with Grandma on Christmas. So don't send your Christmas presents here. You start shipping those Christmas presents to Grandma. Get them wrapped, get them in a box. Ship those Christmas presents to Grandma because we are all going there for Christmas. So you don't know their story. Yeah. And Chris, you are absolutely right. You hit the nail on the head and you got the crux of the Granny Rant today. Yeah. Let's learn to be happy for the goodness that God has given to other people, even if it's something that looks a little bit different than the goodness that God has shown to us.
Well,
End of Granny Rant. Okay. Merry Christmas.
I'd like to have a response.
A rebuttal?
It can a grandpa rebuttal to the Granny Rant.
Okay.
That is, you've touched on what is partly going into my Bible Idiots deep dive about joy.
Interesting.
And the exception to the rule is now the rule. And we realized this in 2008. We were on the air in Arizona. Mm-hmm. I think we were still only on 90.3, so it might have been 2007. Mm-hmm. Because I remember this went down when we were on Thunderbird and 7th in Phoenix. Anyway, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We decided we were going to do a Mother's Day giveaway. And the Mother's Day giveaway included a spa treatment. And I mean, there was like 5 different, semifinal winners and one grand prize. And the grand prize was worth like $1,000 or $2,000. And then if you qualified and you didn't win, you'd go in for a drawing for tickets to the Michael W. Smith concert or the Newsboys deal.
Lots of gifts going around.
Meet and greet
lots
with
of
Chris
prizes.
Tomlin or whatever we had going on at the time. And it was all about mothers and it was about emailed stories about mothers and different things. And so there was a lot of winning going on, and it wasn't subjective. There were some drawings, but it was about celebrating motherhood. Mm-hmm. And we got a call from a lady 3 days in a row, because this was a radio morning show bit that went on for a couple weeks leading up to Mother's Day.
To give people the time to register and everything.
Yeah, all that stuff. And she just would not let it go. And her and I got into this fight. I don't know if you remember that, but I just finally told her, I said, lady, the exception to the rule is the rule. We had a twinge of maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And I'll never forget that twinge as long as I live, because this lady kept pounding on us. What about the mothers? What about the women out there who can't have babies? What about the one who just had who's lamenting their abortion, or the one who just had a miscarriage? And, what about the Hannahs of the Bible, that don't get their Samuel,
Right.
It's like that's not the point.
Right.
The point is not to celebrate motherhood. That means that the other people are so sad. And so because they're sad, then we can't celebrate motherhood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I mean by the exception to the rule becomes the rule.
Right.
It's just like abortion, for example. What about rape and incest? What about rape and incest? I mean, that's an extreme exception to the rule.
Yeah.
So you answer them by saying, before we talk about rape and incest, will you agree with me that abortion on demand is morally reprehensible or wrong?
Yeah.
And that's when
they're
you'll find out.
not likely to go there.
That's when you'll find out who you're really talking to, because there's something else going on there that's not where they have to be.
Not right. Yep.
So that's what I want to say, is that you can see people with a lot of Christmas presents saying, look at our large S.
Right.
But maybe they're not saying that. Maybe they're saying, hey, this is all the happiness I got in life right now.
Right, exactly.
Or how cool is it? Because last year we had one gift a person, and I'll look at I posted on Thanksgiving, my kids pitched in and bought me a PS5 so we can play online video games together.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody thinks about that. That was a happy moment that I wanted to share with the people that might actually get it, and those that don't, look at him thinking he's all that with his PS5. Don't care. Don't care. You're not going to suck my joy just because you're trying to bring everybody down to your level.
Yeah, it is not the number of presents. Like I said, rewatch The Grinch. And then it's really not. It's the heart behind what you're doing. So it doesn't really matter if you're going to give your granddaughter a free cookbook that you just happen to have gotten, or if you can afford that PS5. It doesn't matter. That's not the point of the gift giving at all. So let's get in touch with reality. Let's get in touch with the goodness of God, because whatever it is that's good, it's from Him, and we can celebrate that. I love it. All right. Where are we going next?
Bible Idiots Deep Dive, I think, is what's next on the agenda.
I thought that was connected. I thought you just did your deep dive.
It is connected. We and people are like, I tell people, look, we don't show prep together. They're like, really? That's a shock.
All right.
I couldn't see that.
It was connected.
But it was connected. I wanted to respond to the Granny Rant because what you did means a lot to me, but mine is about biblical joy.
Oh, biblical joy. Let's do that. Let us go to the Bible Idiots Deep Dive with Chris. Where are you going?
This is such a time to reflect.
Yeah.
The holiday time is a time of reflection. And then New Year's resolutions happen because of the reflection. You're like,
true.
I eat a lot, and I'm kind of, maybe I'll get a treadmill. That's how that happens during this time of reflection.
What percentage is eat better and exercise?
And
I think a lot
this
of them
morning, we're recording on December 21st, on Thursday, December 21st, which is Solstice, right? Shortest day of the year.
Oh, is it? Shoot. I like the darkness and the Christmas light.
Well, anyway, because of the dark days, you end up being inside. It's cold, and that generates reflection. That's kind of the thing. And so I've been reflecting about joy. And, one of the things that I found was a meme that if you're watching on Rumble or YouTube, you see on the screen right now. And this is called an honest Christmas card. For you audio-only listeners, it's three, obviously, older sister and two twin brothers with Joy, and they're just crying. And it's like, that's an honest Christmas card.
They're trying to get a Christmas photo, obviously.
Yes, obviously of the kids holding joy, and they're crying.
Yeah, holding little letters to spell out joy, and it's not going well.
It's not going well. But that is kind of where we are as a society, I think.
I think so,
it's just like those kids I just had on the screen.
Yeah.
And, how do you worship, pray to, and serve a God who radiates joy? I mean, especially if you're on the bummer train. Yeah. And we don't want to be on the bummer train, but sometimes we have to ride it because of our circumstances. And so should our communion with God be like something different when it comes to encountering the fullness of joy?
Okay.
That's a legit question at the holiday times.
It's a good question, yeah.
I mean, Jesus did demand that his disciples abide in him, right? Mm-hmm. And that is to continuously remain intimately connected to and in fellowship with him. John 15:11 says, I have told you these things so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete.
Yeah, there you go.
You cannot live in the epicenter of joy and not feel its effects.
Yeah.
That's a quote by Richard Blackaby. And so Psalm 16:11 says this. It says, you will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever.
Wow.
I don't care how many presents people have under their tree. I know what it's like to stand in line for government cheese,
Yeah.
and I know what it's like to get upgraded to the penthouse at the Waldorf Astoria in London.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, both were joyful moments. And
Thankfulness.
thankfulness,
Permeated with thankfulness.
I mean, obviously you're like, yeah, those are totally two different worlds. Yeah, because I've lived in totally different worlds because God has a sense of humor, I guess.
He wants us to know.
Look,
yeah.
the world thinks that joy comes from abundance of pleasure and material things and an absence of problems.
Comfort, yeah.
And hey, if we could just regain our health, find a new job, purchase that house, then we would be
Find
joyful.
a husband.
If that radio show
yeah.
just wouldn't do that Mother's Day celebration, then I could be joyful. Otherwise, you've triggered me. You've stolen my joy.
Yeah.
That's what, when someone says they're triggered, that's what they're trying to claim, is that you've stolen their joy.
Right. And
So-
no one can steal your joy.
Yeah.
You willingly give it away.
Let me just
That's the
share this with
reality.
you. Again, I've been reading a lot of the Blackaby's books.
Yeah.
They have such a good way of explaining
So
things.
good.
And one of their books I got to buy now because you know what it's called? It was written like 10 years ago.
What's it
Or
called?
12 years ago. It's called Fresh Encounter.
Oh.
That's the name of
wow.
our church, Fresh Encounter. That's where
Cool.
Fresh Road Media comes from.
It was meant to be.
And that joy, that fresh joy every day is all part of it. That's
Yeah.
why I love the church name, and I love the name
Yeah.
of Emilee's new ministry. Anyway, have you ever thought about how a joyless Christian is a contradiction in terms? I mean, if Jesus rules and reigns the entire universe and he holds us in his grip, okay, how do we not permeate with joy all the time?
Right.
And then you think of Paul and Silas's experience. Okay, they're serving Jesus. They're doing what they're called to do. And in the middle of it all, if you look up Acts 16, they are just humiliated. They're stripped and beaten in the town square, dragged to the worst of the prisons, dungeons in that town.
Right.
And in the middle of that, they started singing hymns of joy.
Yeah. Wow.
Even the smallest inconveniences can rob us of joy. I could be driving down the road and all of a sudden a semi decides to pass another semi on the interstate and it's going to take him 5 minutes because they've almost equalized. And I'm just like, this is so subpar.
Yeah.
You know, it just
I believe the term is learner driver.
that comes from the old video game Destruction Derby for those of you paying attention. Anyway, we cannot become joyless Christians because of our
No.
circumstances.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't let the business of your life or your work cause you to stress so much that you lose joy. Or parents who are so immersed in the daily grind of child rearing, and now their home is like this somber place. And
Oh,
you know,
that was a huge thing for me raising kids. Yeah.
it's
It's
a
easy to do.
huge thing for you just in
Yep.
when you get overwhelmed with, oh, another lady wants to have coffee with me,
Well,
you know what I
not
mean?
that.
I know,
It's-
but I'm
it's
exaggerating.
Another lady wants
but
to have coffee, and I still haven't vacuumed my floors.
I know. What about political tension? Political tension
Oy
is
vey.
hijacking joy all over the
Yep,
place.
yep.
And especially, don't let Christians let that be something. How about a cranky boss?
Yeah.
Or the Vikings lose?
Oh.
I'm wearing my Twins jersey or sweatshirt today. The Twins, they can go ahead and
Yeah.
lose. They
You
won
and
2
my
World
sister
Series, so it's
are no
okay.
longer allowed to watch Viking games together. It's just a little too much.
That defeat to the Bengals last week was painful. You know what? Pastors grow grumpy.
Yeah, they do.
When they have these grumpy souls with how they want to manage the organization for them. Missionaries become frustrated when they seem to not get the results they're looking, so they descend into joylessness. We need to go back to Paul and Silas in that Philippian jail that they were in,
Yeah.
and realize that that's where true joy calls from. Look, Christ called us to be ambassadors in 2 Corinthians 5:20, and the role of an ambassador is to embody the government, ruler, or nation they represent.
Yeah.
And there is a picture of you and I, Emilee, that is
Yeah.
about 10 years old. I don't know, maybe 15 now.
When we were young,
when we were
thinner,
young, and this
more
was
able-bodied.
this. I'm going to put the picture up right now. This is the picture
Oh.
this is the one that was on the billboards, And this was called The Joy of the Christian Life.
Yeah.
People used to say, you look like you have the joy of the Lord.
We
And so
did.
we did. And that's
Yeah.
why, and laugh louder, dig deeper, live larger. That's why that was the picture that was on the billboards or flyers or whatever. I mean, it was used so many times that I sometimes have to go back and look at this picture.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for you audio listeners, but you'll have to go to
It's just
YouTube
a picture
or
of Chris
Rumble
and I. We're holding hands and giggling and laughing
like
whatever.
we normally do.
Yeah.
I sometimes go back and look at this picture, and I made it my screensaver of my iPad so that it helps me be reminded to come back and have the joy of the Lord.
Yeah.
The joy of the Lord. Again, I'll end my segment with Psalm 16:11. Again, you show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence. And you should have an, oh Lord, oh my God in there. Oh my Heavenly Father, and the pleasures of living with you forever.
Yeah.
You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasure of living with you forever.
Yeah.
And that is what I want for Christmas and for New Year's between now and January 8th when the show returns. I want us to rediscover the joy of being behind the microphone. I never have a Sunday, and you can testify to this. I never have a Sunday when I'm preaching and I'm not excited.
Yeah.
I get up in the morning, I get to speak today.
Yeah.
I'm never bummed out. Why? Because I have the greatest job in the history of the world. I get to share the gospel, and I've been put in a place where I can dress just like I'm dressed right now. Nobody cares. But they are saying, we want the truth, and we want only the truth and nothing but the truth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's me.
Well,
I don't have to mince words. I can just come with the full gospel message and let the Holy Spirit do his thing. And how is that not an exciting thing? How do you not have joy in that time?
Yeah, there have, admittedly, though, I think there's been 2 times where it was a heavy something that you were going to bring because that's what the Lord laid on your heart, laid before you and said, I want you to tell people this. And there were like 2 times I remember you had a little bit of trepidation, like, this is a hard truth. I have to say it. I hope my people are ready to hear it. So there was that. But I can attest to the fact that it is it probably is the greatest joy just to share the truth of God's word. And I really think if the day ever came where you couldn't do that for whatever reason, I think that would make you sad.
Yeah.
I
wasn't sad that I had to speak. I was sad that God laid it on my heart to deliver some news that was definitely going to step on some folks' toes. And everybody's like, we want our toes stepped on until they get them stepped on. Right. It's like the great theologian Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Right.
Exactly. And then when you want to have blowback towards me, I have a plan that comes from the great theologian Randy Moss. And that is, homie, don't play that. Look, I'm like Teflon. It just bounces off me most of the time. I don't know where that came from.
I think we need to edit that out. I don't know. I'll talk to Mike Shaw.
If you're hearing it, that means Mike thought it was funny.
Okay. But here's the thing. Here's one thing I do want to make note of. And that is God does allow us to go through those things that have the tendency to or have the potential to shake us, rock us. We will feel things that are negative, okay? But I think he does that as he's actually giving us the opportunity to experience going through that and coming out of it and the joy that's on the other side, because that joy that's on the other side is really, really sweet.
It's awesome.
And so...
and that's why when you have to give the hard truth, but I'm going to do it.
Right.
And you do it out of obedience, and you do it giving it over to Jesus, and then he sends you peace and another thing. You know what else he sends?
What?
Joy.
Joy, yeah.
Joy. You did what you had to do.
Right.
It wasn't great. Wasn't fantastically fun, but you have peace and you have joy.
It doesn't mean that you're happy all the time.
Yeah.
Okay?
No,
There's
I know.
going to be things that you don't want to go through. There's going to be things that you might worry about, and it's an opportunity for you to give that to the Lord. It's an opportunity for you to reach higher than your circumstances, and eventually it's like, don't stay there. That's the point. That you're going to go through difficult things. But the point is, you don't stay there. You reach higher to those things that you really know about God. And there is peace There is joy to be found even in the midst of those difficult, fallen world things.
Circumstances can dictate your joy if you let it. The way to come out of it is to count your blessings. Name them one by one.
Yeah.
Count your blessings. It is a really true
It's a real thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
it really is.
It is, because
for sure.
one thought sparks another thought, and pretty soon you're swimming in the goodness of God once again.
Well, this holiday season, we really, really want you to have that joy of the Lord. This is the last show for the holidays. We've got a college student, Macy Reischl, waiting in the wings. Mike Shaw is also going to be by with Right On Way Off later in the program. We're going to take a quick 10-second break as Emilee's going to encourage you to help support this ministry. And we'll be back with another live show January 9th.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated.
Welcome back to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, where we laugh louder, dig deeper, and live larger. And we also find guests that we want to talk to and talk with. And we find them in all kinds of places, don't we, Emilee?
We do. I'm really excited for today because, Chris, it's so refreshing to bring a young person with that fresh perspective. They grew up in a world very different than what you or I did, and so they can oftentimes just bring insight that we wouldn't otherwise have. So today, Macy Reischl joins us. So welcome, Macy.
Thank you.
And Macy, you recently graduated high school, and you are now off into college at Grand Canyon State University. You are a freshman.
Going from Iowa to Arizona.
Yeah, but you are also a Christian, and so I thought, what a great idea to bring that Christian college perspective onto the show for a little while, because it's going to be good. First of all, you're home for the holidays, right?
Yes.
And
Very nice.
so you probably missed home a lot. You're back home for the holidays. What's the number one thing you're really looking forward to this holiday season?
Number one would definitely be family and friends. I've definitely missed everyone from home. But other than that, definitely the comforts of the small town and just home in general. Like seeing the stars, all those things that you don't get to do in a city, and my big bed. That's always good too.
So the dorm room bed ain't doing it for you.
No, not quite. My big queen bed, I'm like, ooh, I'll take this.
That's comfy.
That's good.
That's awesome.
Comforts of home, sweet home.
Yeah, so it sounds like you have a lot of family coming in. How
Yes.
many people you're going to be welcoming into the Reischl home this year?
Yeah, so I just hosted, or I guess my parents just hosted my grandparents from the other side of Nebraska. So they were just here. It was fun to get to see them. But now from the other side of the family, a lot of those people are starting to roll in, and we'll probably have about like 30 to 40 people at my grandma's house Christmas Eve. So
Nice.
that'll be pretty crazy, but it's always fun. So.
Oh, yeah.
One of
it
the
totally
reasons
is.
one of the reasons Emilee and I wanted to ask you onto the show is because as a high school senior, my first year in Iowa as your pastor, we have a coffee shop attached to the church. You would come in with your Bible and your friends, and you guys would study God's word. And it just was impressive to me that you just give off the vibe like you're living for Jesus. And then you go to a Christian university in Arizona. Are you seeing the stuff that we're seeing? I mean, what's it like to be, 19 years old and 18, 19, 20 years old in post-Christian America with the, social media pressures and all of that? What's that been like? I mean, can you tell us what you're seeing from your chair now going from Iowa to Arizona?
It's definitely been an adjustment, to say the least, going from a small town of 5,000 to the fifth biggest city in the U.S.
Yeah.
But it's been a fun adjustment for sure. Just like getting to experience those city things obviously has been fun. But aside from that, I think my college experience has been really different from most, because I'm pretty sure GCU is like the biggest Christian college in the country, if not one of the biggest.
Oh, for sure, one of them.
Yeah, definitely. But
And then you got to define Christian, but keep going.
But so I would say my experience is very different, where I somewhat have that university experience that others have, but in a totally different light, and just like being surrounded by so many Christians. Granted, you have to, like you kind of said, figure that out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely been very different. And I've been surrounded by a lot of good people, which has really helped and has made it feel a lot more like home. So even though it has been a big adjustment and like my parents and my family and everyone's 20 hours away, like I really do feel at home there and at home here just because of the people, which has been awesome.
That's awesome. So you go from the rich farmlands of Iowa to the desert of Phoenix. How are you liking the desert? Is that been a good experience or a difficult experience?
Have you woke up
so
yet
far?
with like the gravel truck going through your nostrils?
Oh gosh, not yet. Is that a warning?
It's so dry in the
dry,
Well, you know, you're in the wintertime now. Wait till May rolls around.
Oh, gosh.
But anyway,
Do you like the desert?
Yes and no, for
Yeah.
sure. There's pros and cons. Like
Yeah.
the beginning of the school year, move-in day, it was 115 degrees outside.
Ooh,
I was like,
yeah.
I chose to move here. Why? Like, I wasn't sure what decision I had just made. But now, like on Friday before I had to come home for break, a lot of my friends were gone. And I was like, oh, like this kind of stinks. Like I'm going to be by myself. And I was like, wait, I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Why would I ever be sad? So, like, I put on a tank top and shorts, went outside, went on a walk. I was like, oh, never mind. Like, this weather's kind of nice. But
I love that. There's good and bad everywhere you go.
Exactly.
And it takes a while, but yeah, so good. I'm glad you're adjusting. It took me, because we lived there for a while, it took me 2 summers before I could get in an outdoor pool in Arizona because it was pool water was so warm. It just didn't feel refreshing. I felt like I was getting in a bathtub or something. It changes over time.
Yeah.
So yeah, even those things that are difficult, maybe kind of bad. One in particular, what's it like for you? Maybe you haven't noticed brushing your teeth with the Arizona water. Have you noticed it's warmer coming out of the faucet?
Yes. Wait, you're so right. For me, I've noticed it in water fountains. Like one time I went to the gym for the first time and I was like, oh, I forgot my water. It's fine. I'll just drink out of the water fountain. And I was like, what is this? I'm not forgetting my water bottle again.
And there's
That's a
not
lesson you
heaters.
learn right
There's
away.
not heaters on the fountains. It just feels like there's heaters on the fountains.
It's so, I'm like, where's the ice? Like, I need something here. This is not it.
Exactly.
Right
Yeah,
on.
I had a hard time brushing my teeth at first too because it
Yeah.
was like brushing your teeth with warm water. Anyway, let's move on a little bit. Talking about that college experience because it's a huge thing. The vast majority of kids do go on to some sort of post-secondary education, and I remember hearing stories from my dad when he went off to college, stories from my generation when we went off to college. And now stories from, the latest generation to go off to college. And those stories have changed, I think, really drastically. And so
It's much different today.
yeah, I wanted to ask you, do you see that change? And how do you see your college experience maybe differing from your parents or even other non-Christians who are going to college today? Do you see any differences there?
Yeah, like I had said before, like I go to one of the biggest Christian schools in the country. So I would say my experience is definitely very different because I have like some of the friends that go to those like small Christian schools and, they get more of that like, I don't even know how to describe, more of like the sheltered Christian college experience where for my school, like there's definitely limitations, but there is a little bit more freedom there. So like getting to experience that. And then I've got the friends at the big universities who are like, anything's open and just kind of crazy. But I think a lot of that has to do with, honestly, your own personal choices and your own foundation because there's ways around any rule. There's different things that you can decide no matter what college you're at. It just comes to what's your foundation and what choices are you going to make because I have some Christian friends that go to bigger schools and they've chosen to follow Jesus and pursue that. And I also have friends at smaller Christian schools who are finding ways around the rules and just things like that. So I feel like a lot of it just comes down to your personal choice. So at a big university, there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of things, but I'm really grateful to go to a Christian school where there are so many opportunities to grow in your faith and to get to pursue those and do that in college has been really awesome.
Macy Reischl is our special guest today. She is a freshman in college, and she comes from the church that I'm the pastor of, and we just thought it would be great to get her perspective.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question because we got to interview NFL quarterback Kirk Cousins as he went off to college several years ago. And he remembers having a discussion with his parents how growing up as a Christian kid, his parents sat him down and said, okay, look, when you go off to college, you're going to have to actively pursue friendships with people that are going to be like-minded and strengthen you in your faith and not tear you down, not set you back. And you're going to have to take an active role in that, because it could be the situation where those people on the college campus are few and far between. Macy, have you found that you've had to do that too? You can't just kind of wait for the good friends to show up, that you've had to take a really active, intentional role in seeking out and finding those people that you really want to connect with on college campus?
I think that was one of the most important things I did when I first went to college, because I really knew that the people that you become close with are the people that you tend to be like, like bad company corrupts good morals. So I wanted to make sure, yes, Jesus ate with the Pharisees and the tax collectors, and he was able to minister to those people, but also he was it's good to surround yourself with good Christians who bring you up, So that was one of the most important things that I had prayed about before going to college. And when I got there, yes, I was still praying, but like you said, it's something active that you have to do as well. So, welcome week, if you would have saw me, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off, going to all the events, meeting all the people. But like you said, from there, you also have to discern, okay, what type of friendship is this going to be? Because I want people who lead me towards the Lord, and I want to lead those people to the Lord together. Yeah. So just even asking simple questions like, hey, I'm going to go try out this church on Sunday. Are you going church hopping? Want to come with? Just to find that community in that church and just all those things like that. So just figuring out where people are at in their faith, just through simple questions like that. And then I quickly, especially with those Christian people, you can get deep really fast. So some of those people started out small, and within 2 weeks, we were already best friends and had shared our testimonies and just knew everything about one another, which was really cool.
Are some of your friends from way different places, from around the country and stuff like that?
All over the place.
All over the place.
Someone was asking me about that yesterday, and GCU, there's a lot of out-of-state students, so I have some friends from Colorado, California, Wyoming, Montana, literally everywhere.
That's
it's crazy.
So awesome, because you find like-minded people everywhere you go.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't live in a vacuum. We don't live in little pockets. And so it's kind of cool. Young girl from Iowa can go to Arizona and become really, really good friends with someone from California. The Lord really can unite people, even if you come from different walks of life.
Macy, when did you make the decision to run for governor? Just wondering.
Oh, gosh, never.
Right?
I can see it in your future. One question that I've got is based on your age and based on your peer group. I can't really speak into it because I'm not from that world. But it seems to me like to have a deeper relationship with Christ is almost mandatory to have relationships nowadays. Is that true? I mean, because there's so many different people out there with so many different ideas, and Christianity, when I was college age, was in vogue. You wanted to be known as a Christian. Now that's almost the exact opposite. What do you see from your chair in that regard?
I would definitely agree that relationships built on Christ are just so different, and I feel like those are the relationships that can get so much deeper, and no matter where you're at in your life, that, if that's the thing that unites you, that's changes everything. Your relationship is just built on something so much bigger than yourselves. And I have other relationships, obviously, with other people, and it's just interesting to see, there's just that limitation of the most important thing in your life you can't talk about with them.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you can, but they just don't get it, And so it's just different. But I would say I have a solid relationship with a lot of Christians, but I also have my non-Christian friends that I've been able to pour into. So it's good to have that mix, but it's definitely a different relationship when Christ is at the center of it.
Yep, good to have that mix.
So here's a question for you, because you have younger sisters, and your first semester off to college. What's the number one thing that you would convey to your younger sister, either one of them, that if they were going off to college, what's the one thing you want them to know from that experience thus far?
That is a really good question, and something I should honestly be telling them. But I would say, like I've said in a lot of it just comes down to your choices. Yeah. And before going to college, that's really when you are supposed to prepare, whether or not it's obviously in school, financially, whatever, but also spiritually, you should be preparing yourself to be on your own. Obviously, a little different. I can come home and be like, Mom, Dad, like, you know, things like that. But it is me living on my own now and just preparing to make your own decisions and not look at your parents and say, wait, should I? You know, like you can still consult them, obviously. Like they're still wise and have experience.
Isn't it nice to tell them what you've decided instead of asking them what you want to do?
That was a good adjustment. No.
We've been talking about joy. We've been talking about joy in the opening part of the show.
Yeah.
And kind of how the mood of the whole country is gloom is basically what it is. And in your generation, it just seems like there's a bit of anger and a bit of, oh, that triggered me and those types of things. Obviously, as Christians, we kind of rise above it. How do you think your generation's going to handle the future when real trouble comes?
I think without Jesus, anyone is going to handle the future not well. But with
Excellent
Jesus,
point.
you can handle it so much better. So I actually had some friends visit GCU, and one of my friends that's still in high school said, oh my goodness, this reminds me of Zootopia. She's like, everyone's just living together, living these different lives, but it's just like so harmonious and so fun and just joy-filled. And so I've experienced being at a Christian school, like, a lot of my friends are like-minded and just like so full of joy, and I love to see it. But then I also see some of my other friends are just different people in life in general,
right?
Who I just see like running away from that, and they want that joy. They want it so bad, but instead they pursue happiness and their own happiness, and just like it's so circumstantial. And so once life lets them down, the joy is gone, you know, where there's been things that my friends have shared that they've gone through, that I've gone through, and we still have that joy because we have the Lord and He's our hope. So like that's where it comes from.
That's the joy word of the day. Circumstantial.
And I love that. I think every parent can take what you said and just really carry that with them. If you've got kids that are growing up, if they're going to be leaving for college sometime soon, get them prepared, not just what college they're going to go to or what career they're going to enter into or finances, but there's a spiritual, emotional preparation that needs to take place. And thank you for sharing that with us, Macy, because I think that's just gold. I think that's just gold for parents and family members who will eventually be sending their kids off to college. So any other thoughts? Any final thoughts you want to share with us before you get back to the holiday celebration with your family and then back to Arizona to school? What are you thinking?
I just want to say thanks for having me on here today. It's been really good, really interesting to talk to you guys. Always good to see you after being gone for a while too. But
that's awesome.
You're welcome. You're welcome on the show anytime. Anytime you come back into town, let us make sure we know.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We want to keep updates and get updates because I think you have a unique perspective of a sold-out believer living in a dark time, and now you're in a big city. Even though you're at a Christian school, your generation is struggling right now. I mean, the statistics are amazingly bad as far as living for Christ in your age group. And so we're praying for you and we're pulling for you. And we just thank you so much for being on the show today, Macy.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Coming up in just a minute, we are going to have Mike Shaw back with Right On, Way Off. And we are glad that you are along with us for the ride. This is our last show before the holidays. We're taking a holiday break and we're back. A little time off, Emilee says. She wants some time off. Yeah. So freshroadmedia.com. We're going to take a quick 10-second station ID type break where Emilee's going to ask you for year-end funding. And we're back on January 9th. But right around the corner, it's Mike Shaw with Right On, Way Off.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, if you get any encouragement from it, please consider standing with us financially. Go to freshroadmedia.com and consider giving a wonderful gift today. It is appreciated.
Welcome back to No Apology with Emilee and Chris, a product of freshroadmedia.com, where we laugh louder, dig deeper, and live larger in the Lord Jesus Christ.
Wasn't that refreshing? Talking with Macy.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Gives you a little hope for the future. I got to be honest, when I talk to people like that, young people who are just growing up in the faith, they're wise beyond their years, it actually makes me feel younger.
I know.
I can be like you, Macy.
I know. Sometimes I look at you and it's like, you don't look like a granny. But you are. Our oldest granddaughter is going to be 12.
Yeah.
We are getting up there, man.
I don't feel...
Look at the gray.
Sometimes I don't feel like a granny, and then I try to get up off the couch.
Yeah.
And then I'm reminded that, yes, my knees remind me I am a granny. But I do love that. You know, it reminds me of a conversation that I had not that long ago with somebody who's very, very introverted, and it's hard for them to like pray in small group and stuff. They were specifically talking about small group. They love their small group, but when they get together and then they want that person to like open up because they're so introverted. It's really hard for them. And the hardest thing for them was when it would come time to pray. And of course, she knows that they're going around the room and they're waiting for her and it's her turn and she just can't say anything. And then eventually somebody will take it. And she feels bad. And so, I told her, I just said, you got to remember that whether you're a new Christian or someone who is just starting down that path of praying with groups of people, praying in public, you got to remember that, I love those eloquent prayers that mature Christians offer, but you juxtapose that with a fresh, new believer prayer that's just honest and simple and I'm telling you, that edifies the church so much. That edifies, that strengthens the people around them so much. Just to hear the simple prayer of a new believer gives old believers renewed life.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of praying with people. Same thing with Macy.
Yeah,
If
she
you're
was
young,
just refreshing to have her on the show.
really
I thought.
refreshing. And if you're young, just remember that you have the gift of actually kind of breathing life into some of those people who've been, a hoe in that row a lot longer than you.
I'm trying to get into shape. I walk my dogs 300 plus days a year. It's what I do.
Yeah.
The other day I decided I was going to jog with them a little bit. Yes, the Lord was breathing life into me. About 2 minutes in, I'm like, well, that's enough of that. I do want to get back and jog some more and get running again.
We got to keep doing that.
I got 20 more pounds to go before I
Let's
can
get through
do
the
that.
holidays first.
Well, right now this is December 21st, so you're seeing this on December 22nd. It's a special Friday holiday drop of No Apology with Emilee and Chris. This is our last show of the year, and we are going to come back, and the next drop will be January 9th, and so we'll be recording on Monday, January 8th. And we just want to wish you a very Merry Christmas.
Yes.
We want to wish you a very happy New Year.
Blessings in the new year.
One of the things Emilee and I do on the New Year is we always make a prayer list, 4 or 5 bullet points that we're going to pray all year long, asking God for certain things. One of those bullet list points is going to be the funding of Fresh Road Media. And it's not about greed. It's not about lining pockets. It's about being able to actually do what God's called us to do. And right now, we have some really good donors that have gotten us this far. But
so blessed
with everyone who's given anything to this ministry.
Yeah.
But it's really, to be honest with you, we're not into that enough spot yet. We got
a ways to go.
We're still underwater
building.
as far as even being able to do the basic functions of a broadcast outreach, which we feel we're called to do. Now, the first thing that has to happen is you got to share the show. You got to tell people about Emilee's show. The Bible Idiots platform is where my teaching goes, and if I have a guest speaker that knocks it out of the park, they're going to be on there too, even though that's been... Last week it's been frowned upon that I've put a few people out on my teaching platform that weren't me, and it's like whatever. The messages are strong.
It's the
They're
message,
good.
yeah.
And then the big thing that I'd like us to grow besides this show, and Bible Idiots, God can do with whatever He wants. We might be changing the name in 2024, but either way, my teaching platform, my preaching, my getting ready every week, God can do whatever He wants with that. But I think Jesus is Coming Soon with Mike Shaw. I think that could turn into almost a daily news broadcast, which would be I think we need it. These are broadcasts that we need, and it's so fragmented. There's hundreds of broadcasts out there, so why this one? I don't know. Let God ask it to you. Many of you are going to make some year-end gifts, and we are asking you just politely, hat in hand, would you go to freshroadmedia.com and do us a solid and give your best gift right now?
Help us start
between
the
now
new
and
year.
when we get back on January 9th.
Yeah, help us finish out this year, start the new year. And like Chris said, there's so much more that we want to do. We're waiting on the Lord. Rome was not built in a day, brick by brick, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to be a brick? You can be a brick.
I'm not sure that we want to use that as a marketing strategy.
Be a brick.
Be a brick.
No, but seriously, if the Lord lays it on your heart, please consider it, because there is so much more that we talk about doing, we get excited about doing, but there are there's only so much. So we're just following the Lord step by step. And thank you again for everybody who has been a part of that.
He's been sitting here all festive. Let's bring him on.
Let's
Mike
do it.
Shaw!
La, 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 la,
Merry
la.
Christmas.
All
You
right.
are looking a little like either Father Christmas or Father Time. I
Yeah,
can't
the
really.
beard works, dude.
It does.
Yeah, I haven't even trimmed this in
I know.
weeks.
You got a whole Santa
That's
vibe
like-
going right
Yeah,
now.
because you started in the no. Were you the one that started the no shave November?
No.
Did you do that
No,
this
I wasn't
year?
part of that. No, but
Oh, okay.
but
You just have a beard.
yeah, it's like it's Christmas time, and so I can't trim this. I can't cut it. Now I didn't get offered a
Will the
part-time
reindeer
job
get
or
mad at
anything.
you, Santa?
Something like that.
Last
It's like
year,
it's just the wrong time of year to trim
I know.
the
And
beard.
last
Yeah.
year you were in a play that the
was.
beard totally called for.
Yeah,
who,
I'm gonna
who
be
did
in-
you play again?
I'm going to be in it again as well. so,
Are you?
Yeah,
Are you James the Lesser again?
James the Lesser. I'm being typecast. This is being 5'5" or something.
You wanted a bigger role, you said, after you get, but
No.
same one, huh?
No, I want the same role.
Okay, you
Oh,
want the same
okay.
role. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean it's a good role.
Yeah.
and I already know the lines.
Tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about the
right, right.
tell us a little bit about the production. What is
So
it?
it's the Living Last Supper,
Yep.
and I forgot who wrote it, but so we reenact it locally. 3 or 4 dates, I think, is what we're looking at.
Okay.
I know we have a meeting in February to get the band back together and see who's gonna, be part of us again and get it together. But moving here last March, and we did this, in advance of Easter, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was pretty brand new when I came to town and was asked to be in this, and I agreed, and it was one of the best things I did.
Yeah,
'cause I just got to know some
Well, you
people.
came over for a campfire and you said you got the role James the Lesser.
Yeah,
and when you
yeah,
said it,
yeah.
you looked at me. We both laughed out loud. 'Cause just
It's like, okay, that
God
makes
has
sense.
a sense of humor.
really does.
Yes,
what role
he
did you get, Mike?
does.
I'm James the
James the
Lesser.
Lesser. Yes, you are.
Well, I'm excited you're going to be back
Yeah.
in that production.
Yeah,
Excited
it's
that
good.
you're still doing studio producing for Fresh Road
It's
Media.
good.
Excited for Jesus is Coming Soon with
It's
Mike
good.
Shaw
Yeah.
and Emilee.
I'm super thankful. I mean, moving to Iowa is one of the best things I've ever done.
I know
Yeah.
a lot of people who say that.
Yeah, and
Yeah, we feel very close
we
to that.
feel the same
and
way.
it's kind of like working for Fresh Road Media and working with the nonprofit and with you guys and everything that we're trying to build here. It's like working for a startup,
Yeah.
And what has been really cool is the church family, the community, my new friends have come alongside. I can't tell you how many people have brought stuff to the house.
Yeah.
Someone gave me a bed, someone gave me an air fryer, someone gave me a pressure cooker.
Yep.
People have delivered meat because that's what I eat.
Yeah, you're on
And
the carnivore
on the
only, meat
carnivore,
only guy.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it's just everyone's been such a super blessing. And
See,
Yeah,
that's
it's
why I love
really-
when you come and watch our dogs when we go because
Yeah.
I know that you're not going to eat my chips.
nope, I'm not. No,
Or
I'm
his
not.
ding dongs.
Yeah,
right.
all my
And-
good stuff is
Yeah,
still there
it's
when I
all
get
still
home.
there.
But it is really, again, I like the word refreshing. Fresh
Yeah.
Road Media, Fresh Encounter.
Yep.
It's refreshing
Yes.
to live in a community where, and these people aren't just like dropping off their junk or anything like
And there's
that.
no
They're-
pretense either.
They're genuinely concerned. Do you have everything you need?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I might have something that you
true.
could use.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, there's real love here.
And yeah, it's love, real love.
No, it is, and
It is.
and it comes from Christ, just like Macy Reischl.
Yeah.
The reason that I was so excited that she wanted to come on Emilee's show was because I know she loves Jesus. I've watched it. I've watched this high school student show maturity beyond her years, and so I'd love for her to be our college correspondent.
Yeah,
Oh,
Let her
that would
come
be
back.
great. That would
Yeah.
be great if she could do that. She is wise beyond her years.
Yeah.
And I was just
And
thinking,
very articulate.
And I was thinking, okay, Brad and Tina, you've done well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also thinking, Macy, you've done well.
Yeah.
Because you reach
Yeah.
a certain age, and it's kind of a lot of it's up to you.
It is.
Your
It's up
upbringing
to you.
matters a lot, but you make your own
You know,
choices.
when the kid turns out great, it's the parents are always like, yeah. And when the kid doesn't turn out, they're like, we tried.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah, it's on them.
Our kids admittedly turned out really well. Not
Oh,
that
they
they're
did.
perfect and
Same.
haven't had their share, but they turned out really well. And I look at it and I'm humbled because I know that, I don't
It was
have any
Jesus.
Mother of the Year awards coming
It
my
was
way, okay?
Jesus.
It was the Lord, and his blessing on families cannot be understated.
Yep.
But yeah, just to hear her talk about it's your choice.
Yeah.
You have to make choices.
Yeah.
You have to decide. You have to be prepared. that is so countercultural right now. It's so countercultural, but it's so biblically spot on. I just love it. God is good. Let's move to right on, way off, shall we?
Let's do it.
Right on.
Let's
I'm right on
do
with
it.
that.
Now, this is pretty cool because we've been talking about some things that go right in line with some of the quotes that I picked today. So I know you guys are going to get these right. There's going to be no question about it. Let's start off with the first one. Chris, we're going to go to you first.
Okay.
The world, here's the quote. If you are just joining us for the first time, right on, way off, I'm going to throw 3 statements out there, and Mike and Chris are going to tell me whether they think those statements are right on or if they're way off and why, and then I'm going to let them know if they're right on or way off, if they're right or wrong.
If they're correct or
It's
not.
my joy to point out when you're wrong, actually.
know.
So don't take this too seriously. All right. The first quote that I'm throwing out there, it says, the world often thinks of peace as the absence of conflict, but Jesus didn't come to bring us first the absence of conflict. He gave us the peace that can persist through worldly conflict. Is that right on or way off, Chris?
I'm going to go right on.
All right.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, because his peace passes all understanding, and it doesn't matter about your circumstances, whether that's conflict or no conflict. There still can be peace in the middle of that.
Yeah.
Like what I just talked about in the opening segment of this broadcast was the Paul and Silas deal in Acts 16.
Yep, I was thinking about that.
And so that is where I would be right on.
All right, very good. Mike Shaw, what do you think?
That is right on. And
Why?
so, you can't even
Defend yourself.
Yeah.
yourself now. Well, that's why I'm here.
I know,
to answer
right?
these questions.
I want to know what you think.
That's right.
Inquiring minds want to know,
Yeah.
Mike.
So, well, when the truth shows up in the world, when the light shows up in the world, it can bring division.
Yep.
And it can bring conflict.
Yep.
Because as we see in Daniel very plainly, Daniel was told at the end of the end, the darkness is going to get darker, but the light is going to shine brighter. And you see that division happening. And so, the light of the world came into the world, and the world did not understand it. And the world, didn't leave the darkness because their deeds were dark.
Yeah.
And we see that today, just as predicted, and it's always been the case with the world too, because we live in a fallen world. But we get to choose the light.
Yeah.
And because of that, even though things may be rotten, because it's a rotten world, we can have that peace and we can have that joy if we lean into the Lord. I think you guys outlined it really well at the beginning of the show. It's like, yeah, your circumstances are your circumstances, and you might have to push through, and you might have to go through, and it may really stink.
Yeah.
But, on the other side of it, and even during it, God will bring you back to his joy.
Yeah.
He's not going to let you stay down. At least that's been my experience. You know, we've all been through stuff, and
We have.
and it
Yeah.
isn't fun. And just keeping it
Nobody
real.
gets out unscathed. That's
Right.
for sure.
But then you can hear Jesus', the small still voice of the Holy Spirit. It's like,
Yeah.
lean into me, come back to me. I've got you.
Yeah, because you're going to go through it and you're going to realize God's promises are true.
Yeah.
And what's better than that? What is better than that? And you guys are both right on. It is right on. That was Abdu Murray. And I love that statement because I'm guilty of it myself, but I see people who do this on a consistent basis where it's like, even if there was no conflict, we'd create conflict because it's almost human nature to live in conflict.
Don't
you know
talk
what I mean?
about your marriage on the air. I joke.
But we are kind of, as human beings, we are kind of like that. If there is no chaos, if there is no drama, well, then we'll create some because we sometimes kind of thrive on that in our sinful nature. All right.
Okay.
Statement number 2. We'll start with Mike first, and I'm going to find out something about you, whether that I probably didn't know before. Here's the statement. Tell me whether it's right on, way off. Dogs are wonderful, mostly because they make your life wonderful without even knowing how wonderful they are. Is that right on or way off?
That is so right on.
Okay.
That is so right on. Well, it's weird. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like when you get a dog, when you have a dog, that dog bonds with you.
Right.
It's your dog.
Yeah.
And that dog will do anything for you and looks to you for everything. And so, I mean, I don't care who you are. And to me, I was kind of, I don't know, maybe the Holy Spirit was showing this to me. It's like, sometimes I feel like, God's going to do all this great stuff for other people, but not for me. Either I'm not worthy or God has forgotten me or something, if you start to get down. And then I started thinking about dogs. It's like, I don't care who you are, get a dog. That dog is gonna bond with you.
Yeah. My dad always said that every kid should have a dog.
Yeah. Well, and teaches responsibility too. That's the other part of that. But that dog's gonna follow you everywhere. And so the application for me was like, God is no respecter of persons.
Right.
He's going to bless you too. He's not going to just do it for Sally down the street.
Right.
He's taking care of you too because you're his kid as well.
Yeah.
And so it is with dogs.
All right. Very good. Chris, what do you think?
I'm right on.
All right.
And I actually believe that dogs can teach you spiritual principles.
Oh, sure.
And my dog taught me one yesterday.
Oh, what was that?
Well, they want to go for the ride.
Dental treats don't taste as good as they smell?
They want to go for the ride, and we had to be gone for 10, almost 11 hours yesterday, driving to Minnesota to drop your sister off.
Yes.
And then drive home. And that was just basically what we decided to do. The next trip, she should be ready to drive, recovering from a major cancer surgery. And so just coming to Harlan, Iowa for a respite for a couple weeks before Christmas really made Emilee's day, and I think it really helped her as well.
Yep.
Her name is Beth, and we just are so happy for her.
Watched the Vikings game with her, which
and
was
she's a huge
aforementioned.
Viking fan,
and so, and
she's loud as a Viking fan, which is what I like.
You two had a fun time. I left the room.
So I had the garage door shut, and I had the hatch of the vehicle open, and I was taking the dog beds out there because they're going to spend a long time
getting ready for the road trip home.
It just makes the road trip longer, but they're with us. Yeah. So if anything happens, they're with us. So we have to stop, and I'd take them out and walk them and stuff, and it's just a great time traveling with the dogs. Yeah. But my dog Alfonso, which we call Elfie, it's 6:23, and I said we're not going to be ready to go. In my head, I'm like, we're not going to be ready to go till after 6:30. Turns out it was like 6:40. But he jumps up there and he won't get out of the back of the car, and I'm like, fine, just stay there. But he was just so worried from like 6:15 to 6:23 when he jumped into I know it because I happened to glance at my watch when he was jumped in.
Yeah.
He was so worried he was going to get left behind.
Yeah.
That you really, because when he knows the word ride. And so he was like just focused. His ears were back and his tail was wagging. And he's just like, you are not leaving without me. So much so that he just made it uncomfortable to try to get everything in the car. And I just thought, I am like that with God.
Yeah.
It's 6:23 in our life right now, whether it's the ministry, whether it's Bible Idiots, whether it's this show or funding for Fresh Road, and God knows when 6:40 is going to come and the car is going to leave the driveway. Yeah. And he's got this. We just got to know and be obedient to jump up and get in the vehicle, sit where we're supposed to sit, stand where we're supposed to stand.
Right.
And so know your assignment. And that is my mantra going into 2024. I'm going to have at least a dozen sermons throughout 2024 about knowing and doing your assignment. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
We need to be faithful with what we're given. And so part of this Fresh Road Media thing is just us being faithful with what we have. After that, it's up to God.
Right.
It's 6:23. It's up to him to determine when it's 6:40.
Right.
So
exactly.
I'm right on.
Yeah,
Everybody
it was kind
get a dog. My dogs are like emotional support animals for me.
Yeah.
Because my kids live in 4 different states. I see my granddaughters once a year other than FaceTime. And so these dogs have become my grandpuppies.
Yeah.
And I spoil them. And I don't apologize for no apology with Chris and the dog owner. No,
it's a spin-off show.
When we're done with this show, I can't wait to go home and see them for lunch, and we'll take them for a walk. Or they take me for a walk.
Yeah.
And probably no jogging today.
It was like a double lesson there watching him, because on the one hand, because he's just worried. You can see it in his face, and he doesn't want to get left behind, and he's just worried, and he's whining, and he's, if you told him, okay, we're not going yet, Elfie, you have to get out first.
Too many words for him.
He couldn't do it. Too many words, first of all. But come on, get out, get out, get out. He wouldn't do it because he would be so worried. And so there's this don't be so worried lesson. I'm not going to leave you behind. It's all good. I love you. I'm going to take care of you. But on the same token, there's a lesson there too, in that he's ready.
Yeah.
Like I'm ready. I am focused. I'm going to cling to you with everything I got. And
we're
we
going to
need
go
to be
for a
that
ride
way.
means something to him, and he heard it. And do we hear our Heavenly Father? Do we hear our assignment as a church body, as a husband and wife, as a single man or a single woman? Do we hear His voice on our assignments?
Yes,
That's all.
So dogs really are wonderful. You guys are absolutely both right on, and part of it is they have no clue the wonderfulness that they do indeed bring into our lives. They don't know. They don't understand.
My
that.
dogs know. They're a little haughty at times.
Sometimes they get a little too big for their britches, honestly, and they look at you like,
It's a true story.
well, where's mine? You know?
It's after 6. Where's the treats?
Hello. Hello.
You're a little late with the feeding. You know about it,
All right.
right?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
Very last one, last statement, and it's just another little Christmas one. I saw this, and I'll read it to you.
Okay.
It says, "Believe like Mary, trust like Joseph, hope like the shepherds, seek like the wise men, worship like angels, and love like Jesus." What do you think about that, Chris?
You'd have to be right on, otherwise you're an atheist. I mean, that's a Dr. Obvious right on, of course. I don't know who wrote that, but I love it. That's brilliant.
My gift to you.
Did you write that?
No, I didn't write it, but it
'cause
was such a simple assignment. I'm like, I'm throwing that
I wouldn't
one
put
in
it
there.
past you because your writing's fantastic. But
Aw, thanks.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, but I did not think of that one. No.
Okay, so Mike's got to answer, and then you can tell us who
All
it
right,
is.
Mike, what do you think?
That's so right on. And then who wrote it? Is it unknown? Because we
I
could
don't
steal
know
it.
who. I know, right? I do not know who wrote it, but it's worth sharing, and I think that was the intent of the writer to begin with, was for it to be shared regardless.
Oh, I thought you said it was from somebody named Sharon.
It is worth sharing.
But
So it
thank
is
you.
worth sharing.
Right.
Of course it is.
Well,
Yes.
so
sharing.
it needs to be a poster or something to put on.
It's actually a sweatshirt.
like a.
Was it really?
It's a sweatshirt.
It was a sweatshirt that
Okay,
I
that's
saw.
too many words for a
advertised.
sweatshirt, but that's perfect for your. It's for a refrigerator magnet. You know.
Yeah.
Somebody's on vacation already.
Yeah.
I need another one for right on my off. Hey, there's a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I'll just do this one.
I know it sounds like a lot of words, but they kind of arranged it in a way that it looked really great. It was easy to, and it was on a sweatshirt. So yeah. So you guys are both right on. It is right on. But you know what I really kind of pulled from this?
What?
Is that the God of these people, the God of Mary, Joseph, the shepherds, the wise men, the angels, and Jesus, is your God too. And so what is it that you have in your life that other people can take and say, I need to follow that example. I need to I want to be more like that. You have it in you, and don't be afraid to share that with the people around you. A lot of times there are things that maybe you're unaware of, but just know that you have that. If you are walking with the Lord is working through you. Take comfort in that, and don't be afraid to just totally embrace it. You're showing other people a demonstration of how to live for God.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like my spiritual gift of being an example of what not to do.
Yeah. Yes.
Sometimes we do
Yes.
that.
There's a lot of those in the Bible. Don't be that guy, right?
Right.
Hey, there's a lot of times at the end of the year you'll have a regret or two, and maybe there's a phone call you need to make.
Yeah.
And I had a very dear friend of mine call me while we were on the road yesterday, and I almost got teary-eyed. I did get teary-eyed, but I had to drive, so
I'm not
I
crying,
choked
you're
it back. But they were in a car accident where the person in front of them turning left got broadsided at full speed. Okay, and both cars exploded all over their car. In fact, the one of the cars landed 6 inches from the driver's door, and the other car landed like 8 inches from their rear bumper on the other side. They were able to crawl out the passenger side, his wife's side, and they were in shock, but they didn't get touched.
Yeah.
They didn't. Their car didn't even get hardly any scratches on it. And yet the ambulance came. Both people were unconscious. We don't even know if they're alive. This happened yesterday, but it caused him. He said to me on the phone. He said, "I wrote down 3 people, and you were one of the people, because it was like so close to being over for them yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that he said, tomorrow I'm going to call these people." And I was one of the people, just saying friendship loves us, and just wanted to just say how important our relationship was together. This all went down in Michigan, and it was just it's just so cool, all the people that we're connected to, and you just never know. Yeah. So this holiday season, this is one of the holidays where our kids aren't coming home. It's the odd year, so they go to the in-laws. Yep. We get them on the even years. And that's how we worked it out the last 7 or 8 years, and it's worked out great.
You can still post pictures of you and your family getting together for Christmas. I will love that.
Yes, and you can still have as many presents under the tree as possible.
The more the better.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not going to offend us. So is that it for Right On Way Off? Because I have one more thing.
That is the last one. What do you want to add?
I got to add this, and that
is that like...
there is a fuzzle on your microphone that has been bugging me the whole show that I have to have way off.
Is it down here below, kind of?
I'm coming past your mic.
Okay.
Right now, this fuzzle is on.
I thought it was on yours.
And Chris is going to take it.
I thought it was my hat for a second.
That had to get rid of it.
Yes. That was bugging you,
better
wasn't
now?
it? Yeah.
And now people will figure out how the studio works.
See, here's the thing. You can never, ever, ever, ever tease me again, because sometimes we'll be watching TV and I'll see like some dude's tie is crooked, or some person's teeth are like really, really large.
I was trying to watch the show, and she was just going on and on. This lady's teeth. This lady. I'm like, let it go. I'm trying to watch the show.
It's a distraction.
Were
Like
you
I'm
watching
a very
BBC?
No.
Okay. All right.
No. And she had nice teeth and everything. They were just like really, really big, and it just kind of like it made my mouth kind of like.
In marriage conferences, I talk about the difference between men and women's brains.
Yeah.
And Mark Gungor gives the premier teaching. If you want to enhance your marriage, go to YouTube and search Mark Gungor, 2 Brains. He's got a 2-hour presentation. But the gist of it is, if the news comes on, the woman looking at the camera, reading the news, Emilee knows what kind of blouse she has. She knows the brooch she has. Wonder where she got it. Her hairstyle could be better. The color, is that really what she wants to go with? And who did her makeup? The man is sitting there wondering, what is the news?
Right.
What is she saying about whatever she's saying?
Yeah.
And so that's we have different worlds. And I appreciate a good Christmas light decoration. But when we drive around, I don't make noises, Ooh,
You don't applaud out loud. I applaud out loud sometimes.
I kind of do that.
That's wonderful.
I appreciate it. Anyway,
Good job,
so
guys.
Mike, Jesus is coming soon with Mike Shaw, 2024. We're coming back. This is our last show until 2024 for the holidays, and it's dropping on Friday, December 22nd. So. What's going on? What are you thinking? Where's your heart for this coming year?
And I just thought of this while we were talking. The new year's coming, and there's kind of a tradition. I don't know who started it or where it came from, but where you would get it from God. Hopefully. Mm-hmm. So a little prayer and fasting, or at least seeking the Lord for a word for the year for you. And so I think I want to explore that a little bit and talk about that on a soon coming episode. I'm off this week.
Yes.
I'm off for almost 2 weeks. I got a job driving for a local school district, and so they're off for Christmas break. So I'm off for Christmas break.
We should be doing a lot of recording. Instead, we're like, nah, we're taking it off for the holidays.
I'm gonna. So
busy.
For me, I've got several projects
good.
have been backburnered just out of necessity because there's so much time being, because I got to work like a normal
I've
person.
cooked nothing for the holidays yet.
Yeah, so I'm gonna catch up on some of my projects, and one of those would be. Jesus is coming soon with Mike Shaw. So
awesome.
That's what
one of the projects.
I'd love for funding to come in and us build you almost like a news studio. It wouldn't take much.
I think it'd be great. I've thought about that. Since we've talked about that, I think it's a great vision to do an almost daily news show, and then also still do some long form interviews.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And still do plenty of commentary. Biblical commentary and all of that. I'm jazzed about that idea. One brick at a time.
One brick at a time. Be a
there.
brick with us. I have some things to get caught up on as well. One of those things I need to update job descriptions. And Mike, you are now required to wear that hat for your job. Going forward, year round, we will keep Christmas all the year, right? I'm just kidding.
I could go to dollar store and get those lights that you wear.
I have restrained with like a dozen Elf on the Shelf jokes. So
I know, right? Yeah. I worked so
the Santa
hard.
Didn't work out.
I worked so hard to find something Christmassy for the background, for the holiday season, and all I could come up with was this little white tree.
It's beautiful.
I'm hoping next year I'll find something more fantastical. So
I'm going to stick with the cross with the Romans quote on it.
That's
Yeah.
goes
Yeah,
year
Romans
round.
8:31. That
yes,
works for me.
He was born that man no more shall die.
Yeah.
So that's Christmassy in and of itself, right? Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's going to do it, right? Any final thoughts y'all want to leave with us, Mike?
Yeah, so that was my final thought. So
Okay,
I'm working on,
good.
So I'm going to work on a word
Yep.
for 2024
Yep.
and encourage other people to seek the Lord for their word.
Yes.
And I think that'll be kind of fun,
right.
but I think productive too.
All right. And Chris, talk to me a little bit about Bible Idiots before we go.
Well, Bible Idiots is basically where my sermons go. And, there's always talk, not always, but there has been recently, the last couple of years, talk about how to get them out to a wider audience. This is not me talking. This is other people talking. But when I hear them say this stuff, it makes me happy because it feels like maybe God's using my meager efforts. They say that my preaching can really reach the common man and woman. They call them Lunchbox Joe, Lunchbox Jane. In 2024, I think as the darkness comes, our messages are, the messages that I'm preaching at Fresh Encounter Church that go out on Bible Idiots are going to be even more important. In that world, they give advice. And so one of the pieces of advice that I've gotten recently from someone is that I should not put anyone else on the platform. Like when you tune into Turning Point, you only hear David Jeremiah. When you tune into Truth for Life, you only hear Alistair Begg. It's like, yeah, but I'm not, I don't care. I'm the Bible idiot.
Yeah.
I have a youth pastor that God has raised up, and I've got a couple elders, and even Mike Shaw, that are really preaching God's word. When they bring God's word, I want to bring it onto the
Let's
platform
share
as
it.
much as I possibly can
Yeah.
until maybe someday it will get too big to have that happen, but this is not that time.
Not yet,
So
no.
I would ask everybody to pray that we continue to share the truth of God's word in a palatable way where common folk get fired up for the Lord for such a time as this, because the tsunami of darkness is coming.
It's coming,
And
yeah.
I'm writing a message for the 31st because Christmas Eve day and Christmas Eve is already in the can. And I just want to use some statistics of to how dark it's really getting.
Yeah.
And the 18 to 25-year-olds are lost ad nauseum, like 80%, 90%, they're gone. So that's why when a Macy Reischl can come on the show and share, it warms my heart
it's
to my
like
core.
air in our lungs.
that's great.
Yeah.
And so we want to reach as many people right now with the and I don't mean lost people. I mean people that go to church or people that have a spirituality to them, but they don't really know the true Jesus. I want them to find that freedom that comes when you really surrender your life to Christ. And then you have to disciple them. You have to have relationship with them. You have to have leadership. And that comes from authentic preaching. And that's what we're going to try to do. And, that's what I'm going to try to do. And I need the Lord's help to do it. And,
Right.
And the other thing is I keep getting hit. We got to change the name Bible Idiots because we lose a good chunk of the people.
Santa said no.
Nope.
Santa said no.
Keep it.
Because that homeschool mom, we don't say idiots in this house. We don't. We lose them right off the bat.
Well, again, don't post your pictures with all those presents or anything.
Right, I know. I gotcha. All right.
Yep.
All
I don't.
right,
I
all
don't.
right.
We'll keep it. I don't care. It's up to
We
y'all.
are fools for Christ. That is for sure.
One more thing.
Yes.
I will continue to co-host with you anytime you want because I think No Apology with Emilee and Chris is an incredible, strong talk show that can make a difference if people will share it
Good.
in their world.
Yeah.
So
Please do. Please do. Consider a gift. Go to freshroadmedia.com. We'd really appreciate it. Be in prayer for us. And we will be back with you January 9th. And until then, you have a great Christmas holiday and a very blessed new year.